All right. It's that time of the week. It is way after opening weekend of these two big box office hits, Oppenheimer and Barbie. I should have made this video a lot sooner, but I wanted to wait until everyone got to see it so that, and not even just see it, but digest it. Because when you release a movie and you either love or hate it, your opinions the first couple of days or so are going to be super strong, and you're going to either like, no, this movie's perfect, everything about it is great, or oh, no, this movie is ass and stuff like that. I don't even talk about it. How dare you bring up a point that you kind of mildly enjoyed it, right? But that's besides the point. Let's actually jump into the video. So Barbie and Oppenheimer, Barbieheimer, they both came out on the same day, July 21st, which actually happens to be a day before my birthday, July 22nd. So if you want to wish me some happy birthdays, I just love the engagement in the comments for that. I don't have anything to shamelessly plug, so I guess I'll just plug my my birthday shamelessly, right? But yeah, Oppenheimer and Barbie, they both came out, so everyone's doing it. Cosmonaut Picture Show dropped his on like Monday, doing a double feature video talking about two topics. You guys already know the standard stuff, right? So the first movie we're going to start off with is the first movie I watched, which was Oppenheimer. So what did I think overall of the movie? I like to describe what I like about a movie first before I just go into the criticisms, and also just like to give you a general score so you know my disposition about what I'm breaking down, so that you know I'm coming at it from either a positive or a negative aspect. So for Oppenheimer, I liked the movie. It's a great movie. Is it my favorite movie of all time? Not close. Do I think Cillianmurphy did a phenomenal job at bringing this movie to life? Absolutely. Do I think the cast, the sound, the editing, the visual effects, do I think everything about that was great? Absolutely. However, I will say that this movie isn't the perfect movie, and it's not something that I think I'll be looking back at for people like, oh, when you think of film, you think Oppenheimer. There are plenty of other movies out there, even in the Christopher Nolan category of Interstellar, The Dark Knight, where those movies are really introspective and really interesting, where I just feel like Oppenheimer isn't reaching the peak of that type of stuff. Like I said, for what the movie is offering, I do think that it is doing whatever it needs to be done. But if you are any type of history buff, if you're any type of biopic fan, you know what you're getting into with this movie. You know you're going to get into their history, their relationships, their mindset. However, I do think that the problem with this movie for me, which stops it from being like a great movie that I leave out of here interested in, is simply the topic that they're discussing. I literally watched people protesting outside of the movie, or maybe it wasn't so much of a protest, but they were giving us like a warning about nuclear weapons and whatnot, and why they should be like, we shouldn't necessarily be glorifying the person who made them. And on top of that, they were saying that the threat of nuclear weapons are real. I literally watched them protesting outside of my theater as I was going into the movie theater and stuff like that. So it's not that the message of this movie is like misunderstood. It's not something that's new. Anyone living in the modern era, especially in these first world countries, understand the risk of nuclear weapons, and I think that's because of that I couldn't really sink my teeth into the movie. Whereas I feel like with biopics, the whole appeal of a biopic is that you want to see how the person came to be who they are today in the way that we know them, as well as what struggle they have to face. Some of those biopics end up being really interesting because such wild things happen to them on the course of being who they are. And I could talk about a bunch of biopics that I would think would be apt to discuss about why I like them, but for the sake of brevity for this video, I think there's just one movie that's like so easily comparable, contrasting, that I can talk about, that'll highlight why this movie for me isn't what it doesn't stand out. And the movie that I want to discuss that comparing it to is The Social Network. So while it might not be the most 100% accurate movie in terms of history, one, no biopic really is. They do have to like inflate certain circumstances just to keep the viewer engaged. But one thing that's interesting about this movie is that it has really sharp dialogue the entire movie for the entire 3-hour run. However, to me, it becomes a bit jarring because the way I compared it, it's like a Tarantino conversation. A Tarantino conversation is interesting and snappy, but you need some filler in the middle to make it continually engaging to watch. And the movie does have those moments where it has really big tension, but for the most part, it's in a 3-hour movie about people just talking about physics and theoretical sciences and stuff like that. And there's also a lot of politics thrown in there. Like a big theme of the movie is about Oppenheimer being a communist and whatnot. And I'm just gonna say, like, it's not that I'm saying that the movie needs action. I would never say that a movie about a scientist needs some action. I'm just saying that when you have sharp dialogue, like a Tarantino script, Tarantino uses action. Even in action light projects that Tarantino releases, he for example the Hateful Eight, he has this, it's the mystery, it's the intrigue, it's about where the characters are going. Because we know the end point for Oppenheimer as well as his disposition, the movie kind of doesn't keep me engaged in a way that something like The Social Network would, because it's a mystery about how we're seeing the relationship between Mark Zuckerberg and his friend, I believe his name's Ed, the guy that's played by Andrew Garfield, and their relationship and their dichotomy and whatnot. There's no real tension here to keep you engaged. We know the bombs drop on Japan. We know Oppenheimer has issues with women. Something that's kind of, I guess, not known too well is the fact that, you know, he had all these like legal issues after making the bomb. But even then, even though Robert Downey Jr. does a standout performance that shows like another side of the movie, these things aren't necessarily like, oh, this is pure cinema. Like I said, I want to give a personal shout out to CillianMurphy for this being a really good role for him. The way he plays Oppenheimer from start to finish is absolutely phenomenal. But like I said, overall, when I look back into this movie, I don't think I'm gonna look at it with like excitement. Honestly, it's kind of a hard movie to even sink your teeth into. Some people had like these reactions like, yo, I was devastated, I was absolutely blown away by everything. I don't know if I'll ever get to that point. Maybe if I rewatch it again. But overall, I do think I'm giving the movie a 7. I personally don't believe in half scores, so I'll never give a rating a 7.5 and 8.5. It's either committal or, you know, non-committal scores, because I feel like a solid 7, meaning it's good, but it just doesn't hit the peaks of great cinema for me. But that's basically what I'll discuss about Oppenheimer. Now, for the movie I'm really excited to talk about, Barbie. Man, oh man, do I love this movie. This movie is an absolute joy to watch. I'm letting you know this from the jump. I loved everything about this movie. I'm honestly gonna have one critique. So if you're not trying to hear me gush about Barbie for the next couple of minutes, then you better leave now, because I have everything positive to say about this movie. I'm gonna let you know right now that the only movie that I enjoyed this year more is Spider-Verse Across the Spider-Verse, and I'm deeply invested in that. And the only reason why is because there's a lore, there's a history with that movie, and it's a trilogy. We haven't even seen the final part, and you know, actual attachments to the character like Spider-Man versus like a character like Barbie and stuff like that. But overall, as a standalone film, I'd argue that out of pure enjoyment and laughter, this movie is even better than that for me. I definitely was laughing the entire time I was watching Spider-Verse, but with this one, oh man, me and my friends, we got a big group of us together. We were all wearing pink because we were in theme. I was in theme for Oppenheimer too as well. I wore a suit and all that stuff, and I also wore pink for Barbie. I'll actually put some pictures up because it's not like my face is hidden or anything like that. So if you want to see what me and my friends look like, now you know, right? but we were all wearing pink. We went to the movies. We went to dinner afterwards. It was a great experience. One of the best nights I ever had in a long time. If you haven't seen the movie yet, definitely take some time. I don't care if you have just one friend, your mom, your sister, your brother, your nephew, your uncle, your cat, your dog. Put some pink on. Go see Barbie, because it is a great experience, and I cannot stress it enough how much I enjoyed this movie. But actually talking about the movie starts off really like interesting type of world where everything is just perfect, and you're wondering, okay, where's this going? Because the trailers, and as a film guy myself, you can tell what film directors are doing when they show you certain things in a trailer. The trailers show virtually nothing about the core plot of Barbie, and it manages to get away with that because it's Barbie. It's a kids movie. It's a women empowerment movie and whatnot. And honestly, I won't even go as far to say that it's a women empowerment movie. But the fact that the movie didn't show anything in the trailers, I knew that there was going to be some sort of weird turn somewhere where things aren't as normal as they seem. Obviously, it's a movie, so you're going to have some sort of conflict and conflict resolution plot. But that's not what I mean. I mean that the movie's gonna get really trippy out of nowhere and make you take a seat back. So, what I will say that's the most interesting about this movie is that it is a very smart movie. It is not just dumb slapstick humor. All of the jokes are so ridiculously meta based, whatever you want to call it. It is real comedy. I have not been to the movies in so long and seen a movie that just had me and my homies dying laughing, throwing popcorn. It is great. I'm not really going to do a breakdown of the movie because you have to see it yourself. But basically, with Barbie, she has this conflict that brings her to the real world. And because of that, she gets to see the side of patriarchy that's in our society. And on top of that, we also have her co-star, Ryan Gosling, the motherfucking GOAT. He's also experiencing patriarchy, and they're getting two sides of what they experience. So Barbie's instantly disgusted by it, and she wants to go home. There's also some, movie shenanigans where, they run into some humans, and, they have to team up for, movie's sake, right? But the main characters I really got to focus on in this movie are Barbie and Ken. So Barbie sees a patriarchy, and she's instantly disgusted by it. The moment she gets to Venice Beach, she's like, oh, why is every man staring at me? They're lecherous. I feel disgusted. I feel self-conscious and whatnot. And Ken sees all of the stuff about men. He's like, yo, I love all of this stuff, because in the beginning of the movie, Ken establishes that his entire worldview and value is through the approval and the recognition of Barbie towards him. And that makes sense because they're literally toys, and Barbie is the main character and Ken is almost an accessory to Barbie, right? And so there's this entire theme throughout the movie, especially in the beginning, where Ken is trying to spend time with Barbie, and Barbie absolutely rejects him the entire time. She's like, oh, tonight's girls' night. I'm not hanging out with you. I don't want to hang out with you, and stuff like that, right? And that's not a character fault for Barbie. She doesn't owe anything to Ken. They aren't officially dating, even though Ken feels that way. Barbie's just trying to live her Barbie style dream, her dream life and whatnot. And so Ken feels a certain type of way about it, and it forces his character to really change and evolve. Now, here's the part where most YouTubers are gonna, especially guy YouTubers, they're gonna be like, oh, what's all of this men hating? And the movie does not hate men. I feel like, if anything, the movie really shows just what it means to be a man and a woman. Now, it doesn't show the perspective of a man too much to the extent, because it is still a Barbie movie, but I do think that it goes out of its way to really respect the characters, and all of the jokes in the movie are just jokes. Just like how they make fun of men, they make fun of women equally. I feel like a lot of people kind of missed all of the things the movie were trying to not even trying to tell you, most of the plot points in the movie are directly stated word for word. For example, at the end of the movie, Barbie and Ken don't get together, right? And it's literally a plot point that everyone's feeling like they didn't like, but Barbie's literally telling Ken, hey, you don't need to find value in me loving you. You need to love yourself. And afterwards, Ken literally wears a sweatshirt saying, I am Kenough. Because at the beginning of the movie, like I just said, he said that his entire value and existence comes from the validation of Barbie. And the moment Barbie doesn't give him that, his heart gets broken. So the moment that Ken comes back, from the real world, and he has, this patriarchal mindset and whatnot, he starts partying, he starts destroying Barbie world and stuff like that, and the fact that he's so easily able to dismiss Barbie, it hurts her feelings, because she thought, her and Ken were friends at the very least, and then Ken is like, no, I'm with the guys now. How does that make you feel to be just thrown to the side like you're nothing all the time, right? It's a really interesting movie when you look at it from that perspective. On top of that, I want to point out now, the movie is pure cinema, because it takes homage from so many references to other movies, but the most notable one is The Matrix. There are specifically 2 direct scenes from The Matrix ripped out: the red pill versus blue pill scene, and the scene where Neo was talking to the Oracle. It's even filmed in an apartment like that, where they're eating snacks. Like, I think in The Matrix, it's been a while since I've seen it, I believe the Oracle's like baking cookies or something like that, or like with coffee, and then the Roof, the creator Barbie, is serving Barbie tea and stuff like that. It's just genius, right? I guess we're getting to the middle point of the Barbie section right here, and so during the middle points, I like to talk about what I didn't like about the movie, and I only have one gripe with this entire movie, and that was just a misplaced scene that could have been the most emotional part of the movie, but they kind of fumbled the bag on this, right? So I guess you could argue that there's no real villains in this movie, because no one's coming from an antagonist, like no one's trying to destroy Barbie. Ken does take on a villain role, and it is up to Barbie and co to stop him from doing what he's doing, but at the end of the day, it's not like he's trying to like destroy Barbie land or kill all the Barbies or something like that. He's just hurt, and he really wants to like just take the power for himself. He doesn't want to feel useless, which is, not a crime, but it's the way he went about it that was wrong, right? But there are the CEO figures, the ones who run Mattel, who run the Barbie Corporation, and I feel like, Will Ferrell does a great job for what he's doing in the movie, as well as like the co-staff, like all the nameless guys that are working with him. Everyone in this movie is so funny. It's not, I can't believe it. It's just so good, right? But I feel like you have this like male-run CEO corporation with like 12 guys, and they're basically like, oh yeah, I'm the son of a mother, I have a daughter, and I know women, so therefore I'm allowed to run a company that's supposed to represent women. And I'm not saying that they should have been a more oppressive force. I'm just saying that they could have had a bigger role. Specifically, there's a moment where the humans, it's a daughter and a mother who are helping Barbie. The mother goes on this big ramble about the struggles of a woman, and it's not that the ramble was bad, it's just that whenever a character in any movie, even something like Joker, I remember this was a big contention, where the character goes on a long ramble of how they feel. And some movies do this right, but the worst way to do it is when the character just starts randomly blurting out, oh, my life is so hard, this is why you should feel bad for me, I'm the victim. What's supposed to happen in a movie is supposed to have it where the character is constantly getting pushed and pushed until you can feel the boiling point when it's about to break. And that didn't really happen in this movie, and you could have easily had it where the CEOs were interacting with the mother and the daughter in Barbie, and then the CEOs are like, oh man, it's not even that hard to be a woman. Hypothetically, this is a hypothetical situation. You could frame it in any context of what you want, but the CEOs are basically like, oh, it's not that hard being a woman. You should take pride in being a mother. You already whatever, stuff like that. And then she could have had that scene where she's like, excuse me, how dare you? It's hard being a woman because such and such and such and such, right? I feel like just her randomly saying it to Barbie out of nowhere, especially when Barbie at the end of the movie already gets to like experience everything of what it's like to be a woman in general. So I'm curious as to why that scene wasn't much better. It felt really jarring, and it kind of breaks you out of the scene, but other than that, it is phenomenal. It is funny from start to finish. Everything about it was great because you really are in the setting. Wearing the pink brings it out of you so much. And I gotta say this now, the musical score, the dance choreography was just perfect. Seeing Ryan Gosling out of nowhere turn into like this really edgy red-pilled guy, and him just, oh, it hurts so much. I love Barbie, but I can't be with her because I'm a man. And it's, oh my god, and him dancing with Simu Lee, who does a great job in this movie as well. Oh my god, I absolutely loved that giant musical number. I love that in any movie. It doesn't have to be a musical movie in general, but when you have a random, just absolutely great musical score, it is perfect. So lastly, I kind of want to end the video out talking about overall, what did I take from the movie? I'll be honest, I listen to certain podcasts. Not gonna name any names here because once you start doing a name, they're gonna start associating with you. But as a man, I do occasionally hear things from the manosphere, and I do follow a few podcasts run by women because I am interested in gender politics. I do feel like men and women do have certain opposite dispositions right now, but overall, I'm on the side of like, as a human species, we have to come together, we have to work together, and sometimes I feel like there's fault on both sides, which is not really relevant to this video because that's its own separate thing. I do want to say that I feel like this movie wasn't trying to like put a definitive answer on it. If anything, I'm very shocked that some people, I was discussing this with some friends, but they felt like the movie wasn't a kids movie. And at the end of the day, I'm here to tell you it is a kids movie. At the end of the day, put all of the petty stuff aside. This is not trying to offend everyone. It's a comedy movie. If you look at Rush Hour as a movie to build like the race, the border between the black race and the Asian race, you're looking at the movie wrong already. It's not supposed to be a movie that solves racism or points out the issues between one community or another. Honestly, it's very shocking to me that people aren't treating this like a kids movie because it has some adult humor, quite a bit of adult humor. It even drops some big terms like the word vagina is used in the movie by Barbie and whatnot, and there's a lot of sexual themes and whatnot, but so did Shrek. If you look at this movie like you look at Shrek, which is not revered as a cinematic masterpiece in its time and like for now and forever, I think this movie is right up there with Shrek as a really good movie. It's up there with The Matrix too because it references The Matrix, but that's besides the point. I don't think that you should be, as a man or a woman, I don't think your opinion about anyone should be changed because this movie isn't about how you view the opposite gender or your gender. It's about how you view yourself. What do you want? Because at the end of the movie, even though Barbie found value in herself, she decided that her path wasn't to be just stereotypical and go back to her old ways. She wanted to have her future be uncertain, where she could pick her own path, and whatever life has in store for her, it has in store for her. Ken found value in himself, saying, I love myself. So if you're going to take any lesson away from this movie, it is to love yourself and accept yourself for who you are. And it says it in a very beautiful way that, to me, for 99.9% of the movie, isn't forced. And it's just a beautiful movie that overall I can, look back at, actually learn a lesson. So I gave Oppenheimer a 7. This movie, to me, is a 9. I look forward to watching it again. I'm going to tell everyone who hasn't watched it to watch it. It's I love dumb humor, by the way, too. If you're thinking like, oh, well, you're too dumb to enjoy Oppenheimer, so your small brain loved Barbie. If you want to call me a small brain, man, I don't care, dude. I had so much fun with this movie. Me and my friends who have the same kind of interest in comedy as me were laughing. It felt good to watch the movie, and that is, at the end of the day, all I really care about, because at the end of the day, movies are meant to be enjoyed. Sometimes we put too much merit into actors and directors, and we model our whole personality around them. There's the I'm literally him meme, which I'm a victim of myself, because I'm literally Batman, by the way, guys. I don't know if you knew that. I'm also literally Blade Runner, and I'm also literally the one Neo from Matrix. I'm also literally Goku. So if you guys didn't know that, now you know. That's the face behind the video. But other than that, just thank you guys for watching. I really want to work on an outro, because I'm just bad at outros. This part of the section is way longer than the Oppenheimer section, which is funny because Oppenheimer was 3 hours and then Barbie was like an hour and a half, and I have like way over double the amount of time here for the Barbie section. But I just feel like there was more to say. The Oppenheimer movie there's nothing really outside of like the technical stuff, that you could really talk about, but the Barbie actually teaches you a really interesting lesson, whereas Oppenheimer, I'm sure there's gonna be guys out there making 2-hour videos on it, but I don't know, I feel like the movie's pretty cut and dry. You know what you're getting into. Do I recommend watching Oppenheimer? For sure. If you're really into biopics, you're really into history, you're really into Christopher Nolan, you won't be disappointed with this movie. However, I do feel like even though you won't be disappointed with the movie, you're not going to be blown away. There are scenes where like the sound is really good when the nuclear bomb goes off. But other than that, like I said, I can't imagine the average person who is familiar with film, who's familiar with sound, and who's familiar with like history and science and stuff like that, coming out of this movie like learning something new. The average layman who's just going to the movies because this is a big event, they might be really impressed, and I'm not putting that against them. But overall, I think we're reaching way over the 20-minute mark here. So thank you guys for watching. I am the Media Messiah. This is the Late Developers. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow us. We will be streaming on Twitch. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had so much fun making this video. See you later. Bye.